Congratulations! It's the final countdown for day 2 here at Texylvania, the Impact Stage. We have an amazing, inspiring fireside chat today with 2 speakers, with Dan Mihaescu, partner at Gapminder, and Alex Popa, a U.S. private investor leading AXP Holding. We're going to talk about maximizing funding opportunities for grants, angels, and VCs, combining different type of grants, different type of investors. Please let's welcome them to the stage. A round of applause. So, thank you for joining us. How is it? How are you enjoying Cluj? Let's get cozy here.
It's good. I'm looking at everybody and I was thinking like, we are talking about how should you raise money from VCs and from other people like angel investors. And I'm wondering, why are they leaving? Why?
Well, definitely, who remain here? Are you founders? Are you tech founders? Raise your hand so we can see you. Don't be shy. Yes, definitely. So, and the rest tech professionals?
Investors?
Investors. Well, everybody is interesting. Even if you're part of a company and you're not a founder, you should be interested in investing. You should understand everything that's happening behind the scenes. So Dan, you're one of the founding partners of Gapminder VC, a core pillar in the Romanian VC ecosystem, and you just recently announced an amazing second fund of over 80 million euros. Gapminder Ventures, for those who don't know, focuses on seed and late seed B2B companies in Southeast Europe in verticals like fintech, cybersecurity, enterprise, automation, and data analytics verticals. Dan here has a science and private equity background and has previously held positions of high management and consulting before wearing the investor hat, the imaginary hat. Alex Popa here has an MBA from Harvard Business School and is also a graduate of Stanford, where he ranked first in his economics and management science and engineering class. Besides the last 16 years at the Capital Group, an American financial services company that ranks among the world's oldest and largest investment management organizations with over 2 trillion in assets under management, Alex has had a wide variety of career experiences I see in your portfolio, ranging from a few early years in Romania as Prime Minister's advisor and Secretary of State to currently running a new biotech startup located here in
Nearby.
Nearby? Okay. And you are also an angel investor. Welcome. So let's start. Let's dive into our topic today of what investment type works best for each startup depending on their level and as such. Dan, how do you view the role of grants and bootstrapping in the early stages of a tech startup's development? And maybe tap into benefits and challenges of these funding methods.
Any of us can start, but if you ask me, I think that the fundamental thing here will be this: startup needs funding. At every stage of its life and maturity, it needs a different way of funding. So there is not a best way to fund a startup. It's like the right way at the right stage. So when it's at the very beginning, when you need to just build up the initial concept, probably bootstrapping it's a way to do it, and it's not very efficient, but it's actually good for the short term, right? Grants, on the other hand, can be very helpful when you have a lot of R&D that is very costly and long in time and lengthy in time. And basically, you can apply it in a mix with other ways of financing your startup. So you can raise money from accelerators, from angel investors, like Alex will probably talk about it, or even from VCs at a later stage. And then you can add to the mix the grants, which are non-dilutive. This is very important for the startup economics, and basically can help to bridge very intense R&D, maybe 2 years of R&D, maybe 4, 6, 10 millions that you need to actually finalize the product, finalize the technology, get some patents, or add patents to your pool of assets, right? So it's just one of the tools that you have as a founder to finance a company in the very early stage.
Thank you. Alex, what are the main advantages and disadvantages of relying on angel investors or funding from friends and family for early stage startups? And how do these sources prepare startups for later VC investment and scaling?
Well, Morning Cluj, first of all, very nice to be here. And it's probably the nicest tech conference I've been in Romania and many, many other places. So congrats to all of you guys that put it on. It takes a lot of work. I spent about 22 years in the US, so a lot of what I'm going to say is like memories from the future. May not be completely appropriate, and Dan is laughing because yesterday we had a nice chat and he told me about the ecosystem in Romania. I told him about what I know, and he says, yeah, maybe in 20 years from today. But you know, think of it this way. You know, today you are all entrepreneurs. In 5 or 10 years from today, you're all going to be exited entrepreneurs, and you're also going to be angel investors. There already are angel investors amongst you. So in the US, there's very vibrant communities in which you can do either specific angel investing, so in companies and fields that you know a lot about, right? For me, that would be things that are related to financial services, things that are related to biotech, things that are related to, you know, transportation, because funnily enough, I used to be a railroad analyst for about 12 years. In those areas, you can actually add not just money, but you can add your knowledge. And so when you're an entrepreneur, if you can find one of these value-added angels, they could be phenomenal for you. You need to find the right fit, because again, rule number one, no jerks. So you have to make sure that you don't bring bad people, whether in your advisory board, whether in your team, whether in your board of directors. That's a critical thing, because you're going to have those people with you. And whether it's your next employee or your next VC, they might get turned off by an angel, by somebody who's over-involved in a way that's not healthy. But if you find the right people, if you find the people that can contribute, if you can find the people that are going to help you refine your pitch, that are going to teach you how customers in your industries buy, that are going to teach you what matters, that are going to teach you how to better shape your product, that are going to teach you how to reach the next scale, right? Because startups, they don't grow like a line. They grow in waves. And maybe you've heard Sasha Dragic this morning, you know, and every 5 years, the rules of the game change. And when you bring people on that have seen those rules of the game change, whether it's in Romania, whether it's abroad, they can help you with these memories from the future. They can tell you what the world's going to look like. Now, from the perspective of an angel, it's extremely gratifying. And those of you that have had a lot of experience, like Dan, those of you that have been on this journey, you can get a lot of satisfaction by actually being involved with these startups, mentoring, helping, you know, and it doesn't necessarily need to take the form of a fund. Sometimes it's actually more gratifying when you do it as an individual. The other way which the US does it, and I guess Romania to some extent too with Seed Invest, is more blanket approach, right? Where you don't know the market that well, but you're going to put a little bit of money because by investing, A, you help the ecosystem, and then B, you actually get decent returns. So I've done a lot of investing on AngelList. I think I've got almost 300 companies on AngelList. Companies that I don't know that much about. I haven't really met the founders. I've maybe looked at a presentation. But you know, the returns are pretty good. They're not that different from average VC returns. And guess what I do? I use a lot the VCs. So when a top tier VC invests, they've done the work. They're going to support that startup. I also hope that I find a VC that's going to continue to support that startup. And that helps the VC too, because there's more capital going into the same companies, making them stronger. So think of it that way, right? When you're an angel, when you get to that stage, maybe you're at that stage today, kind of divide your money and your effort into two buckets. One that's very active and very involved, and another one that's a little bit more passive and a little bit counting on the efforts of others. And that creates the ecosystem in the end. And I think here in Romania, you have all the pieces too. And you know, no matter what Dan said, it's just a matter of numbers. You have all the actors, you have the VCs, they have pretty good returns actually. You have the seed invests, you have the startups, you have the mentors. It's important to go and tap into them.
Thank you. Many entrepreneurs worry about losing control when accepting VC or angel investments. And how can startups balance the need for funding with maintaining control over the company? Can you share like some myth-busting tips here?
Well, the first step is to accept this thing. Once you get with an investor, in a relationship with an investor, it's almost like a marriage. It's probably 5-10 years. Well, 50% of the marriages in Romania are surviving 10 years anyway. So you have that similar mindset, okay? You want to control everything like you used to do when you were alone and all that, okay? So in many ways, you have to think like, okay, it's a long-term relationship. If we decide to go and we trust each other, we share a lot of things, right? The investor will basically trust you as a founder and put enormous amounts of money to something that you don't yet have as a proved business, right? In early stage, that's absolutely the situation. In our case, K-Minder, we put seed rounds between 500K and 2 million at the first interaction with a startup, right? And then we go up to 8-10 million with follow-ons. So it's a huge amount at a moment where you don't have yet too many customers, you didn't finalize your product and all that. So the investor is trusting you. It goes also with some reciprocity, but also with some mechanisms that are put into play to secure a balance, right? So you have to give some of the equity. What is normal is to look at 2-3 things. It's like looking at this investor, his track record in what he invested, angel investor or fund, right? What is their portfolio? How are these companies? What is the relationship? Maybe you can talk to other founders, like in case of us, you can talk to founders of FinTech OS, Druid, I don't know, Veridion and all those guys. And you do like a due diligence. Okay, so how is this fund behaving with their founders? Second thing, well, there are mechanisms inside the documents that do something that it's a bit unusual. They are separating the economic benefit from the control. So the economic benefit should stay with the founders. In the first rounds, you should benchmark what is going on in the industry. So for example, at the first round, probably a fund should take 15% of the company, maybe 20%, if there are 2 funds together in the first seed round, let's say. If it's an angel investor, probably you should look easily between 5 and 12, maybe 15%, depends on the size of the round. And if a pool of investors it's out of this, okay, then maybe it's something wrong, right? And maybe you should reconsider, maybe you should renegotiate that situation, okay? And on decoupling, if I just can add, and then okay. On decoupling is this thing. The founders should keep at the first few rounds, maybe 70%, maybe on more than this, maybe 80% of the company. And on the other hand, they will have the long-term benefit in the next few years because they keep a majority. But there are strategic decisions which cannot happen without the okay of the angel investors. It cannot happen without the okay of the VC funds that get there. So basically, us as investors, I don't know about you, but us as investors, we don't want to get into all the nitty-gritty and all the operational things. We are willing to help if the investors are asking for it. But there are strategic things like selling the company, selling whatever, selling the IP rights or anything that we have a say. And it's in the documents. So you cannot sell the company without us even knowing. So there is a separation between the economical benefit, which stays with the founders, and the very strategic decisions where you need to involve the investors.
So I love this analogy about marriage and control. And I kind of want to run a little bit further with it, right? Because control is a myth. You just don't control things. The world is uncontrollable. You only can build relationships. You can only adapt. So let's think about it. You're in a marriage. Does anybody own 51% of their marriage? Does anybody control it? Nope. Nobody controls it. Can everybody blow it up? Yep. Can you make it great by yourself? Nope. You don't control it. You have an investor. They're only 20% of the company, but they're horrible. They don't control the company, but they're not going to put money in with you on your next round. They're going to talk badly about you in the market. They have some nasty things in the terms and conditions, which don't allow you to raise money or whatever and whatnot. They don't really control the company, but they can deeply influence the outcome.
Sure.
So what matters here is actually building the relationship. It's the same as marriage. When you take money, you're marrying someone more or less, depending how much money you take, you know. So think of it like marriage. When you go and date, you don't marry the first person you meet. When you go and date, even though you like them a lot, you still don't marry on the first date. So take a little bit of money, work with them. Make sure that you pick investors that can actually grow with you. Give them control.
Was that it?
It's not really control. You can still make their life miserable. But give them control at the right time. Enter the full marriage at the right time. Talk to people they've been in marriages with. See if those marriages were successful. And it's not the firm, it's actually the person. So in the US, for example, sorry for bringing the US over and over, but there's actually databases that will show you how that individual partner within the individual firm behaves. And you'll have feedbacks, you know, like Yelp, like Google. They'll tell you what are they great at, where do they cause problems, whether you would pick them or not. It is the person in the end, and less so the firm. Where it is the firm is that you have to pick a firm that has enough scale and enough ability to grow with you, because your goal as a startup is not to stay at the pre-seed or seed stage, is to keep growing. So you want to be with people that have a large fund, that have partnerships with other large funds, that have taken companies public, that have taken companies to those next levels. And you want to take that relationship building as something that you do very deliberately. You are in control of who you choose. You are in control of the relationships you build. So build those relationships deliberately, let them grow and flourish, and then slowly and slowly form that trust and go with that trust.
Thank you. To wrap up these amazing recommendations, I would like us to maybe tap into the journey from angel investor to VC to exiting to scaling outside the country and the region. What's your take on that? How can founders transfer successfully from an angel investor role then to a VC and then outside of the region? The country where is the region?
Yeah.
The collaboration.
Okay.
Well, these fundamentals are super important, and they need to work on them before they actually start the business. Experience is absolutely crucial. If you're just out of the school and you start a startup, probably you don't have that experience, and then you need to go to as many events, to as many, meet as many educated, high-level people that you can learn from. But if you already had some experience, actually it's easier. So let's start with that. Fundamentals are important. Then, what you need to do is to think a bit like, what are these guys looking for? And there are a few things that pop up all the time. There are a few things that really pop up all the time. First one that you'll hear is team. So when you set up your business, you should think, okay, how am I going to do this? And you need to build up a team around you, and a team that can help you at least from A to B to C, right? And you should look for people that are a bit complementary to you, because I get it. Most of the founders are technical and they are rule-based in their thinking. Most technical people are very rule-based in their thinking. But how are you going to sell this thing, this product? Life shows that people that are good at sales are not that rule-based. Okay, so you actually need people around you that can help you to do that. People that build up bigger teams, big vision with bigger teams, and you right now you're just launching a product, but what about 3 years from now? This company should be 20, 30 million in revenues. So you need in this team people around you that can help you and you can learn from and that you can trust. So the most important thing is to set it up right from the early beginning. And once you get with an angel investor or even with a VC, to start building your first layer of management. So team is the number one. Yeah. Second thing at which we are looking, and you need to be prepared when you talk to a VC, and I guess also for an angel investor is, okay, how big is this market? What is the competition? What business am I in? Basically, what is the business I'm in, okay? How big is the market? What is the competition? And how am I going to sell this in a way that is gonna be, I'm gonna be unique or differentiated for a long term, right? Then probably I should look at technology, because technology gives you defensibility. It gives you that differentiation, right? Technology, if used properly, it's a very strong pillar, right? What you see now with generative AI, it's amazing, but it's only a prop. In 1 year, you all see this, that generative AI is just a tool, right? So how am I going to build something that is differentiated? Well, I have to understand, again, the verticals, the regulations in that verticals, let's say it's banking and finance and insurance, to understand that and to understand what you need to do at technological level for that thing, right? For that vertical. And the fourth thing, if I can cover this before, I think I talked too much, but the fourth thing is like this. You should look like, where are most of the investors, right? And you will see that the reality will shock you. The reality is that most of the investors are in the US and the UK, and then at a very high distance, other countries. So if you think about a business that grows globally, you know that you need to build up that business towards London, towards New York, possibly San Francisco, possibly other places, right? Why? Because besides getting customers there, which are really very valuable customers, you get also the attention of the next stage of investors. And this is very important, right?
Let me see if I can keep this under the 1 minute that's left. I see this clock
You
ticking.
can take more minutes.
So it's all about the billion-dollar companies, right? No matter what any VC tells you, it's the billion-dollar plus companies that are going to make the portfolio. So from the perspective of an investor, you have to become a billion-dollar company or have that perspective. So think about two things. A, solve big problems. It takes the same amount of effort to solve easy problems.
Okay.
You know, do a corner pizza shop. Trust me, you're going to have so many issues. Hiring people, finding the right pizza dough, getting the approvals from the authorities, you know, paying your bills, getting customers, dealing with the couriers. It's just endless. It's the same. You know, do an AI thing. Hire a few PhDs, approach the right problems, think about it right.
Yes.
Solve the big problems. Two, Mircea Joana this morning told you a couple of things, and I think he was right. Don't sell too much of your company and go international fast. Guess what? Those go hand in hand, right? So if you solve big problems and if you think of yourself as a global company, you cannot be a Romanian company. You're not going to be a billion-dollar company. Maybe you will maybe Sasha Dragic did it, but it's very, very hard. There's only a few. Be a global company. UiPath is a much bigger Romanian global company. When you are thinking from the start as a global company, when you are thinking from the start how to solve big problems that a lot of people need, then you're going to sell a little bit of your equity up front. Then you're going to get the right team near you. The A-plus players, they want to work on big problems. They want to work on big global problems. You're going to get people that vastly outstrip Romania. We have a startup. We have a little biotech startup. We're starting it in Romania, but this is not a Romanian company. This is a global company. So we have more than half the team from the US already. And people that haven't even been to Romania are super excited to actually do stuff in our country here. That's because we're actually solving a big global problem, or working on it, because we think we're global from the start, and because we're ambitious. So that, to me, is the key. The key is to start from the beginning and act as if you're going to solve that big problem that everybody needs solved.
Thank you. Any final notes? Yeah?
Yeah, maybe this defining how do you should size up. You know, I want to be a big company, like you described. I'm a big problem, big company in the future. So you need to think about actually how big it will be in terms of, let's say, revenues. So, right? It's okay, big problem, but I should get to 50 million in annual revenues. Guess what? Yeah, with a multiplier of 15 to 20, that sounds like a unicorn. Yeah. So when you think about big, don't think only about this dream of having a unicorn. Think about, like, how can I get this company big in reality? And the numbers should be like, okay, 50 million, not bad. This can be a unicorn at 50 million, right? Maybe this is the final point, just sizing it up. Yeah.
Thank you so much. If you have questions, please raise your hand so we can come to you with a mic. If not, that's a wrap, and you can find both Dan and Alex in the networking area, or at least in the following 30 minutes, to tap into their knowledge more. Thank you so much, gentlemen.